to put it in the way, battling, having got in way of the attempted clearance. Jim Gannon. Oh, great flick on by Alan Armstrong.
It's against Bradford, but here's Warburton!
Yes!
Oh! And trying to manufacture the shot, gets it away, it's there!
Not got it clear. Please, sir! It's a cracker!
Running Armstrong, played in the game, and a superb goal!
Tony Goody! Stockport County are the champions of League Two.
Hello and welcome to Series 11, Episode 1 of the Scarf Bagara War. That's right, we are officially 10 years old in about, 13 days or something. So happy birthday to us. Hope you've all had a good Christmas and New Year. Welcome to this week's Scarf Bagara War. What day is it? Does anybody know? You want to put your hand up for what day it is? Actual day?
Thursday. I'm going Thursday.
Thursday. Well done. It's Thursday. We're not on a Wednesday just because of days and things like that. So we're here, and then we'll be here every Wednesday throughout 2025. I'm joined by Jimmy and Dan of the Courtyard Club Call fame. You okay, boys?
Very good, thank you.
Yep,
Good. And would like to be joined by semi-regular now, Steve from the Edgeley Conservative Club Coaches.
All right, mate. You said that well. You've been practicing.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, and I've done a little change. I say conservative now.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. Yeah.
It's all about practicing in the mirror. That's what it's all about.
It sounds more political now, so I don't want you putting people off.
Yeah, that's true. Welcome to everybody that's joining us online and anybody that's listening later on the podcast players and YouTubes and all that good stuff. We're only 3 subscribers on YouTube away from 2,000. So if you are enjoying this, please do give us a subscribe if you're not already. It would be good to get over 2,000 fresh for 2025. On the agenda today, we're going to talk to our opposition preview guest for Mansfield. It can only be the curly whirly fancier, which is Clive. We're going to get him out very soon. We all know and love Clive now. I think he's been on about probably on this show more times than Jimmy and Dan, I would think, on the main show. And then later on, we'll talk about the game yesterday against Birmingham. And then we'll kind of do a review of 2024, expectations of 2025, life after Louis Barry as well, what we're going to do about that, or what Charlie and Simon Wilson are going to do about that. And then if we've got time, we will do Get in the Rezzers. So, Steve, you know the drill by now. Stick around, chip in, and what we'll do is we will get our opposition preview guest out, which is Clive from Mansfield Matters. Good evening, Clive. Oh, you're on mute, mate, I think. While Clive sorts his mic out. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I've got a thing on me lead. I sat on it.
Fair enough.
I'll start again. Happy New Year, everybody in Stockport and associated fans around the globe.
Happy New Year.
You too, mate.
How's your Christmas been in, just generically for you and Mansfield?
For me, as quiet as I like it to be. For the club, we should play all our games on significant bank holidays in future. We won on Boxing Day, we won on New Year's Day. So it's been a good Christmas for the club.
And it's sort of, we met fairly early in the season. I think we did, didn't we? And we got beat 2-1 at your place as is standard. We could be in the World Cup and you could be in National League North, and you think you still beat us at Field Mill.
We enjoy your company.
Is that right? Okay, that's nice. That's a nice thing to say.
We got a point, didn't we, this year? It was 1 each.
Oh, was it 1 each?
I can't remember.
You got me thinking now. Sure, it's
I
1
thought
each.
we'd won, but anyway, one of us is right.
I think it was one each because didn't we outplay them? Like one half, and then I think you outplayed us the second half. It was a game of 2 halves, wasn't it?
Let's agree to that, shall we?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to end up looking things up, and I don't like that.
No. Well, it's a great start to 2025 for this podcast in its 10-year anniversary. That we've got the first fact wrong. So start as you mean to go on. So 1-1 then in the first fixture. How's it been since then? I know you sort of mid-table. Are you exceeding expectations? How's Cloughie doing? Is he living up to your standards?
Well, Cloughie's got probably the safest job in football at the moment. He can do no wrong. He's the monkey's off his back after we got promoted last year, and at every level we can see progress. It doesn't always manifest itself in results, but you can see a build going on in the background. And we've had a season ahead of expectation. The ambition for most fans when we got promoted last year was to survive in League One this season, to start to build again. And the fact we've had a much better start than that has sort of kindled rampant enthusiasm. And we have people now thinking about promotion. Now, I dampen that because I don't think we're that good. But I think where we are is a good, strong midfield team that should compete with every team in this league.
Clive, obviously Mansfield came up with us last season. Have you found the actual jump up to League One that much difference to quality? In League One is not really much difference to that top end of League Two that we're in. Because I've definitely not thought. I thought this season was going to be a lot harder or a lot better teams than there actually has been. I don't know how Mansfield have found it or you found it.
I think I agree with you. It's not hugely different. However, there are some differences. I think the time on the ball is different. Some of our players at Mansfield can't have the luxury of time that they had last year, and we've got the oldest side in the league, so we have players that need a little bit more thinking time, a little bit more time in their legs, and that's been denied them. So we're having to rethink our strategy a little bit. But one thing that is the same as last year, and that's the standard of officials. They are rubbish. I don't know how they get trained to this horrible level of incompetence. There must be a school somewhere that takes a perfectly normal person and makes them ridiculously inept. Anyway, that's a rant over. Sorry. In terms of football, there are some big sides in big clubs. Let's put it that way in this league, and I think that tends to flatter them a little bit. So you see the likes of Huddersfield and Barnsley and Wigan and clubs that have been at a higher level, and you think they ought to be really good. It doesn't quite work that way. I think Birmingham are head and shoulders better than anybody else simply because of the resources they've got. But everybody else, and Wrexham because they are the bag of shite that they are. But everybody else is competing. There's probably 3 or 4 really poor teams in this league, and they're sat at the bottom waiting to be relegated.
Would you say? I mean, obviously you lost Keeler Dunn, didn't you, at the start of the season? I think the season started already to Barnsley. I mean, we're in a similar situation, losing our sort of star player, Louis Barry. But we played Birmingham a couple of days yesterday. Yesterday. And we got a creditable draw against them. We'll talk about that later when you're not on. But we've had a really good team performance in that second half without him, and fingers crossed that's what we're going to get for the remainder of the season. Do you think that you've gelled better as a team without your star player sort of being there, or not?
I wouldn't say we've gelled better. We've converted the team to work without him. The sadness about him moving on was not that he moved on, because he was entitled to do that, and the lad had ambition, and he was offered a significant better package. And the career as a footballer is short, but he was being worked by his agent, and he was turning out during that month, during the first part of the season, when quite honestly his head was somewhere else. And so we were ultimately quite pleased to get him off the books and take a decent chunk of money for him. Of course, he was our player, unlike Barry, which you had on loan, didn't you? So I think if you have a really top flanked player that's significantly better than the rest of the team, it's difficult to to compensate when they move on. But I don't think you should struggle too much, because what will happen now is other players will take the role. We thought we would be worse off when DKD left us. In practice, we haven't been, because we've found a different way of playing football. There's probably been one game this year when I thought, had Davis Keeler done been in the team, we'd have won instead of not winning. But we've, it's a squad of players at the end of the day, and you shouldn't ever be dependent on a superstar, not at our level anyway. So I'm sure you're going to miss Barry, but I'm sure you'll find ways forward. And it's interesting. We played Birmingham at home and got a similar result, 1-1, and it was a game of two halves. They were all over us, and then we just applied ourselves, and we actually, scored the goal that gave us the draw. We very nearly won the game, and to the credit of the Birmingham fans I was talking to, they accepted that there are teams out there that they'd been dismissive of because of comparative scale. We were one of them, and that they're actually learning this league's quite tough.
Yeah. Sorry, Clive. On knowing you mentioning about squads there, I think for the last 2 years, whenever we've played you, I've come away saying, even 2 years ago when Orient won the league, you were the best team we played that year in terms of football. Last year was similar. You outplayed us twice last season. But obviously, have you not got a big enough squad to... I think what won us the league last year was the size of the squad. It wasn't particularly the starting 11 that won it, because I think across the league, there were other teams that are strong, but deep down into like 15, 16 players, we were still strong.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, I think Mansfield Town has a decent squad. In fact, when everybody is available, we've got two perfectly well-equipped teams. But the reality is, you get players injured, and then players occasionally lose form, and therefore there's an element of luck involved in all these things. And last season we played some really good football, but we lost most of our central defence through injury, and so we were losing games even though we'd outplayed the opposition, and we were a bit naive as well at times.
I was going to ask, are you still playing wingers as central defenders this season?
No, we've now got an abundance of riches at the back. We've gone from famine to feast. We've got more defenders now you can shake a stick at. And in fact, this last game, there's a first game in 15 months that Alfie Kilgore, our central defender, started, and he was man of the match. I'm really enthused by that, because before he had his snapped tendon, we were building our team around Alfie Kilgore, and then we lost him. We bought Flint from Sheffield Wednesday, and he did a decent enough job. But Kilgore's younger, and he's the future. So I'm really enthused about that. And I think we now have probably, when they're there, the best defence in this league. So you'll see that for yourself when we play you on Saturday. I think we won't get beaten. You might beat us, but you won't beat us easily, and you certainly won't score that many goals against us. And I think that's the foundation for where we are. Oh, by the way, a year ago, 366 days to the day, we played you on the 1st of January 2024, and our reckless centre forward, Rhys Oates, injured himself badly on your goalkeeper. Arguably should have been sent off, but he was carried off. And it's taken a whole year, and yesterday was his first start in a year. He didn't make the whole game, because coming back from those sorts of injuries, you've got to take your time. But that's what happens when you make some stupid decisions, and it was a stupid decision.
Yeah, you can just see it now, can't you? If he plays on Saturday, getting a return goal. Just looking at where you are in the league and your goals in it, and how many you've conceded. Your last 5 games have been pretty impressive, to be fair. But you beat Bolton, Peterborough, and Rotherham. But you are the lowest scorers in the top 11. And if any county fans are thinking this is going to be an easy match, I think we've already established it's not, because you're only 4 points behind us and you've got 2 games in hand. Is that where you're probably going to come unstuck, do you think? Is it actually...
That's always the risk, isn't it? I mean, the argument is always, if you don't concede a goal, you don't lose the game. And I think that you can fall back onto that if you need to. But it's not very entertaining football if you rely on that. And certainly clinging on to 1-0 wins, which is what we've had to do on a couple of occasions, is not good fun. It takes it out of everybody. But we've bagged a few goals in the last few games. So I think we've now, because the return of Gregory, He's been long-term injured as well. We can play him alongside Oates when Oates is fully fit, and we've got Lee Evans. He's a sweaty comedian, isn't he? Will Evans, who was scoring goals quite well for us as well. And I think we've now got a bit more variety. So I predicted a 0-0 draw for the game against you lads. On reflection, I think I've been a bit pessimistic. I think there's a goal or two in there somewhere, but it'll be a good game. I think we're all going to enjoy it one way or the other.
Do you think we're going to see? Is it Flint, the tall guy, centre back?
Yeah, Flint. He's not first choice anymore. No, I know Kilgore's back, and we've got a bloke called Deji Ozilaja plays central defence as well. Those two are magnificent. And so Flint, whilst he'd been the first name on the sheet last year, is not at the moment, but he's always on the bench, so he's useful to bring on. He's also a good aerial target occasionally. But he hasn't got the distribution quality that Kilgore's got, and he doesn't move forward with confidence the way that Ozilaja does. If we've got a weakness at the moment, I think we're one midfielder short of a full set.
Yeah, I just remember that when we played you last time, Wootton, our centre forward, tends to get embroiled in just like wrestling matches with central defenders, and I can remember him doing that with Flint and Flint.
Oh, he's the wrong one to fight.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to fight anybody in our team, it needs to be Stephen Quinn, because he's 4'0", and he just can't. You pick your fights, don't you? You don't pick a fight with Flint. It's crazy. But not all footballers have got a full set of thinking tackle, have they?
So, Clive, earlier on you said about obviously an aging team. Do you find that obviously with that age that the weakness in your team then is in pace?
Yeah,
obviously
we're a yard slower than we need to be in key areas. And you have to find ways around that. Of course you do. My wish for January is that we'll offload a couple of the players who aren't getting picked, who are drawing decent salaries, and take a couple of young loanees on, a striker and a midfielder, probably from somewhere like Forest down the road, who've got like 150 players. Most of whom they can't register. So that would bring the age down a bit and put a little bit of pace in the side. But certainly going forward, Clough and his management team have got to recruit some younger players to compensate for at least 3 of the players we've got in our side this year that won't be able to play next year because of Anno Domini.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's, like I say, the last thing I want us to do is try and be physical with you guys on Saturday and try and, like I say, trying to get into wrestling matches. And I think that plays into your sort of, like I say, your team too much, where I think if we keep it on the deck, pass it, move it, play with intensity, I think there's going to be opportunities there to sort of get around you and create another million chances and hopefully find someone to put the ball in the back of the net.
You're right. Play it on the floor, play it down the left flank. That's our weakness. I'm sure I'm not giving a state secret away. I'm sure you've had us watched. That's our weak link, is that we haven't got what I call a recognised right back. And I know that's old terminology nowadays, but we're playing with wing backs, and wing backs have got to be very, very good at their job. And unfortunately, we do have a makeshift wing back, and he does his best. And on occasions, he just gets found wanting. You get somebody with a bit of pace and a decent interceptive ball from midfield, and we're under pressure. Ball gets fired across our box, and that's when the lottery of whether it goes in or not starts up. We have a keeper who is respected as being a really good keeper, but he's only 4 foot, so anything in the air, he doesn't save it. So I'm being slightly disrespectful there, by the way. He's a little bit taller than 4 foot, but he's certainly 6 inches shorter than I would like him to be. But he's a shot stopper. But the weakness is anything that's fired across at height to him. He can only do what he can do. So I've given you all the reasons why you should beat us now.
Yeah.
I don't think I've given you any news that you didn't know.
But this is Mansfield, and to be honest, you were the only team I think last season that beat us home and away. Last season's campaign, and like I say, I don't count for anything for granted. Are you coming up, Clive, for the game on Saturday?
I can't get on Saturday, unfortunately. I couldn't get a ticket. And whilst I've had one offered since, I've made other arrangements. So I won't miss many games this year, but this is the one I will. And I'm disappointed because I like coming to Stockport. if only for the pies. But I've said this before, and I'm not blowing smoke up your backside here, but I like clubs like Stockport because I relate to them. You know, as a long-term fan of a team like Mansfield Town, there are clubs you can relate to. And there are clubs that you could relate to, but you hate them so much you don't want to relate to them. Stockport isn't one of those clubs. You know, I hate Chesterfield. I hate Salford. I hate Wrexham now for strange reasons. But actually, I don't hate anybody. I just don't want to be associated with them. But I like Stockport. And I think Stockport's had that tortuous journey from the pit of misery in a way that the other teams perhaps haven't had around them, you know?
Yeah.
It's not that long ago. You're playing in the Sunday League, is it?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you've got like Birmingham on New Year's Day. We've given the away fans the railway and the open end again this season, or for these games,
which is great if it doesn't rain.
Well, Birmingham found that out, and that kept them quiet. To be honest, they didn't make much noise at all throughout the game.
But the last two times I've come, the first time we were in the open end and we were lucky with the weather, and then last year we were in the end of the stand down the side, which was okay. But you know, I actually, as an away fan, I enjoy going behind the goal. I think it's the right place for us to be. But you know, not everybody's the same. By the way, I went to Reading last week. First time for me to that stadium. Have you been?
We go in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, I think. We go on the 18th of January to Reading. It's
a good stadium. It really is. They don't fill it. It is possible to outshout them very easily when you go there. So, but just be mindful. They have tickets for the upper section and tickets for the lower section. They try and break the away crowd up so that they lose some of their noise value. But having said that, I quite like to get away from our drummer because we have a drummer, but what he doesn't understand, there's a difference between being a drummer and hitting a drum.
So, talking about stadiums and stands, so the big question is obviously if we play you next season, which I expect us to be both in League One next season, will there be 4 sides to Mansfield Stadium next season?
Yeah. It's not guaranteed, but the old stand, which everybody thought had to be ripped down, has been renovated. And it's been a more complex job than anybody thought because it was built back in the day when there were dinosaurs around. But then it'll be extended the season after. So there'll be people in the old Bishop Street stand next year. We might find that the capacity goes up 1,000 next year and then probably 2,500 the year after that. But it is such a narrow piece of land. We're unlucky in that respect in that we can't develop that side. We had the opportunity when we built the existing stadium, but the owner at the time decided to go for a cheap option and did what he did. But it just means we can't do anything on that side with any great majesty. But it's an embarrassment. It has been an embarrassment for 10 years. Thankfully, all the advertising hoarding is gone now. And there is what looks like a stand, albeit under construction at the moment. They've moved the television gantry over to the main stand, which means that the TV audience sees the shit-arse side of the ground. But, you know, the plan is that when the stand refurbishment is done in 3 phases, the first phase is to get it back into play. Second phase is to extend it. Third phase is to put some boxes on top of it and a TV gantry. So it's a 3-year project, which in Mansfield language means 5 years.
At least you got the phases, though. That's very on brand, isn't it? Everyone's doing phases at the moment with these sort of things. So it's in the right
original
direction.
plan was we'd have people in it by February, but that's not going to happen now. It'll be next year.
Yeah.
So we're not going to give it to the away fans. The away fans will still have the North Stand, which is about 1,800 seats. The expansion offered by the rejuvenation of the Bishop Street stand is just to expand home capacity. The problem we have at the moment is we run out of tickets every week now for home fans. So the casual fan can't get in, which is really upsetting in many ways. I mean, what I'm wearing today, by the way, is a shirt that the club gave to all the season ticket holders at COVID time when we lost the value of our season tickets. And there was about 1,800 of us, and we've all got one of these shirts. And you can't see it on TV, but it's got everybody's name on it.
Oh, nice.
Now, I raised that because at that time we had 1,800 season ticket holders. This year we've got 6,200 season ticket holders. We can only sell 6,800 seats to home fans at the moment.
Yeah.
So it is a bit tight. In fact, as a percentage of our ground capacity, we're very generous to the away fans, of course.
Do you find, because we're in a very similar situation actually at County, where I think 6,500 season ticket sales this year, but are you finding there's a lot of like new generation of fans coming along that you've not seen in that sort of the 5-10 years ago? They've started recently coming along, and you're not having fans turning up in a Notts Forest shirt or anything like that, where we get sometimes fans turning up in a City or United shirt.
No, we're not. Although I have to say, if we got a bit more capacity, there would be those people who can't get into the City ground at Forest would come and watch Mansfield play, because we're only up the road by 3/4 of an hour. But what we have is there's a new generation of fans. Now, whether they stay as long as some of the older guys have done remains to be seen. They've joined the club after COVID during a period of success, comparative success, and with football, this is fairly attractive. And I think the media of football has improved as well, which has attracted younger fans. The reality is, every now and again on social media, I see somebody trying to sell a season ticket for what's left of the season for a son or a daughter has lost interest, because they come along because dad makes them, and then they realise, I don't enjoy this, I don't want to go, dad. That's reality, and I think there will be a next season. We'll sell, even if we don't do any better than we are now, we'll still sell 6,500 season tickets next year. So we do need a bit of extra capacity, and I think the embarrassment of having 3 sides to our stadium has been going for too long now. I mean, you guys are going to have a super stadium when you put a roof on that open end, I guess.
Well, we've got phases for that.
More than that. Yeah,
phases. First phase is to put the stand up, and then put the roof on the second phase, and then
this is it. Yeah, we've not even started phase 1 yet.
Yeah,
you have plans, don't you? That's the thing. You have plans to do it.
Yeah, but we're fortunate at the minute. We're in a fortunate position with our owners, and there's been a 7-year plan since he took over to get us in the Championship, to redevelop the ground. So everything's kind of on an upward curve. So, and I guess you guys are similar, and you got promotion with us last year. But what's the feeling like with what are your owners like? Have they got, we're only talking about the ground, but is the team going to progress at the same rate, or are you just happy to be like League One?
I know the ambition is Championship. That's the owners have said that. But they don't say next season. They're not going to Wrexham. It's not going to be as easy as Wrexham seem to think it is. But we don't have a ground fit for Championship. That's half the problem, and we've already covered that. What we have done is improved, I think, the fan experience a little bit, because we've built a bigger fan zone now. We've got a huge marquee that covers what used to be the training pitch, so there's a lot of place in there to socialise before and after the game in a licensed environment for both sets of fans, by the way. We've now got a paddle court. Have you seen the phenomenon of paddle now? We've got a paddle court at the ground.
Oh, paddle, right, yeah.
I've never tried it, but it sounds like something I ought to. And our owners live in Portugal because they're tax exiles. They've got a house in North Nottinghamshire, but they spend enough time out of the country to justify this tax status thing. So they don't get to every game, but they're very committed. Absolutely very committed to the club, and they've got young sons who they want to stay involved with the club when they're getting past it. So I think there's a bit of a dynasty there, which is good to know. And they've been as good as they could be with the money they have. The Clough's been funded sensibly, although I have to say Clough spends money like it's his own. He's not one of these people that will go out and spend a lot of money simply because the owners would allow him to. The playing budget has been kept sensibly under control, and all our club owners want is for our club to more or less break even.
He's a top coach, though, Clough. He seems to be the sort of guy that you could give any 11 footballers to, and he'd work it out with them. I think he's probably an absolute dream for.
He has good people around him, though. He's not a one-up. He's not an island. He has an assistant manager who we never see at home games because he's always out looking at the opposition. That's Gary Crosby, and Garner, who is his right-hand man, is the if you like, head coach, they have a good mix, and they've got a good support to specialist coaches and things like that. In fact, I think we've probably got too many coaches, but that's me being an old grumpy sod. Back in my day, there was a manager and a bloke with a bucket, and that was it. Nowadays, we've got free kick coaches and goalkeeping coaches and physiotherapists and statisticians and videographers and anyway, get on it with Clive. So I think you're right. Clough is a good manager, and he got what he does have is an awful lot of respect from people. But he's also probably wanting to retire very soon. So we need a succession plan. I hope the club have got one. It may even be Stephen Quinn, for all we know, because he's getting to the end of his career, and he may well be the right person to slip in, provided he's got some sensible, older, more experienced management talent around him. We'll just see. I don't think Clough will retire this season, but I think it's probably only a year further down the line.
Is that making anybody else feel really old that Brian Clough's son, Nigel Clough, is about to retire?
Has Nigel Clough got any sons that are involved in football just to keep that legacy going?
Yeah.
He keeps his family life fairly private, and I respect him for that. He is a family man, and he wants to make sure that what he does is right for his family, and that means being around towards the end of his own life, and retirement is that opportunity. I don't think he needs the cash. I think he's okay. I think I don't think the money is the driving force for the job he does. I think it suits him because it's only an hour up the road from where he's lived for a long time. And that goes for players as well. When we recruit players, it's really good to be able to find players who don't have to relocate.
Yeah,
because they're much more committed, and it's better for their families, and therefore ultimately better for everybody. And sometimes you can get a better player simply because of it's convenient to them. Our training ground isn't just off the M1. It's really useful for a lot of players in and around the North Midlands.
Okay. Last couple of questions then. We've got one that's come in on the chat. Where do you see Mansfield finishing now that we're into January? Obviously, notwithstanding January transfer window.
I think we'll be sniffing at the playoffs, but not quite in them. 8th or 9th, something like that.
So around where
I'll be perfectly happy with that. I really will.
Okay, good stuff. And push you for a prediction for Saturday, isn't it? It is Saturday. Back to normal out.
I've committed to 0-0 on our own prediction league, but I'm going to, for you guys, change it slightly. I'm going to say Mansfield will win 1-0. Nice. Which means automatically that Stockport will win, of course.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I've got this funny feeling for Saturday.
Anyway, enjoy the game, lads. I'm sorry I can't be with you. Happy to talk to you again afterwards, and if only to commiserate one way or the other. And
we'll see how it goes.
And yes, I think you're right in your earlier statement. I think both of us will be in this league next year, and I'll be okay with that. I really will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, what about curly whirlies? In my youth, it took 2 full-grown men to carry a curly whirly. Have you seen the size of the bloody thing?
Oh yeah, ridiculous.
I don't even get me on Freddos. It used to be 5p.
Yeah, guys.
30 pence for a Freddo. It's only one mouthful.
When anyone mentions a curly whirly, one of the best lines I've ever heard in football, we two guys, obviously one from our side and one from theirs, having a tussle in midfield, get up having a bit of an argument, and the fella off our team said to theirs, "You could bite a curly whirly and not eat any chocolate with them teeth." He just finished him.
Anyway, I sit behind a chap in the ground who's only got one tooth. It makes you wonder how much inter-family sex takes place in Mansfield. I'm sure it's the same at every other ground, but we have our share. They're lovely people, but there's evidence of inbreeding everywhere you look.
His parents are from Chesterfield, that's why.
Well, you know the definition of a virgin in Chesterfield, don't you? It's a 12-year-old girl that can run faster than her brothers and her father.
Right, I think we need to leave it there now, Clive.
All right. Lovely talking to you, lads.
Yeah, cheers
Have a
for
great
coming
time
on.
and Happy New Year and congratulations on 10 years as well.
Same.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers. Speak to you
Cheers,
soon,
mate.
mate. Bye now.
Bye now.
There we go. That's Clive.
We could do a special with Clive, couldn't we? Just have an hour of Clive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could last. I think we get shut down eventually. I think he was getting very relaxed then in the company. So I mean, let's quickly continue with Mansfield then. I mean, I don't feel as confident as most people with these matches anyway. And Mansfield even more so because of the record we've got against them. They turned us over last season, even though I think we were top of the league or there or thereabouts. Steve, come to you first. Are you confident about Saturday?
No, not at all. Similar to you, really. And like I just said to Clive there, for the last 2 years, I thought they were the best footballing side in League Two and outplayed us, both times last season, home and away. I think this year, when we came away from there, I thought we should have won. So it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we've got a few players missing, but as we'll touch on Birmingham in a minute, before the game yesterday, I was thinking this is going to be a long afternoon. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them. I suppose it's how we approach it and what sort of our mindset is. If we can play with the same intensity as we played the second half the other day, we'll be fine. But I just tend to think that we kind of take it for granted sometimes, the amount of possession that we're going to have, and don't kind of push on when we've got the opportunity to do so. So I'd like to think we'll get 3 points, but I'm not very confident. I think it might be another draw.
Yeah. Dan, what are you thinking?
Every game's jeopardy now, isn't it? It's not like League Two where you knew sort of like we should beat these, and there was only that 5-6 games that you thought, oh, not too sure. I think every game now, definitely from now to the end of the season, I'm a little bit, they are, we're good enough to lose and we're good enough to win, so there's that jeopardy. So yeah, it's same again. What team turns up? What Challenger teams turns up in what half? And yeah, but it's I'm enjoying it. Can't knock it. I'd rather, it's the old jeopardy. Gets you off your seat. 1 minute you're off your seat cheering, and the other minute you're peering through the fingers on your hand, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be moaning a refereeing decision. We'll come to that later. Jimmy, are you confident about Saturday?
Listen, I think Dave has got a lot of respect for Nigel Clough. Whenever you hear him in his post-match after playing Mansfield, he's always quick to say, "Oh, they rotate a lot, they change positions, and you don't quite know what they're going to do." I think Mansfield are an example of maybe a team of players who are playing better than the actual individuals because of the coaching setup that they've got there. Some teams in this division, they've got the players, but maybe the coach isn't quite as good. And I think we're really fortunate that we've got Dave. And I've been reading recently how much the fans are saying that he's just improved in his in-game decisions. We went through a phase, didn't we, where we just thought he's not really got like a different plan here and it's not quite working. But he's not afraid to go to a 4-4-2. He's not afraid to make early changes if he has to. He's made changes at half-time. Not through injuries, but through how the game's been going. So I think we'll beat Mansfield. I do. I think the players will have taken real heart from that second half performance against Birmingham. And I think we'll come out strong. If we can stop conceding these early goals, I mean, how many times have we conceded goals in the first sort of 5-10 minutes of games recently? If we can stop that and give ourselves a better platform, I think we can do him. I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0.
Yeah. Nice and positive. Yeah. Good stuff. So swinging back then to Birmingham and the match yesterday is going to a bit of depth on this one because there is no Courtyard Club call for this. This is kind of it. So we'll have a chat about that. Something you just picked up on there, Jimmy, straight away. Charlie making changes early. Was it Mingy went off after 30 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, he was injured, wasn't he?
Or was that necessity, tactical?
I think it was luck. I think it was lucky that he got injured. I couldn't be at the ground, unfortunately, but I managed to get home in time to watch it on TV. And I mean, Mingy, he probably gave the ball away 6 times in that 30 minutes that he was on the pitch. He did not look comfortable at all. And as soon as Noyle came on, he just, I don't know, he just strengthened that whole back line. And I think if Mingy had stayed on, I know he had a record, didn't he, Dan? You kept saying on the Courtyard Club call that I think his first, 10 games that he played for us, we didn't concede a goal or something ridiculous. Yeah. But he looked very shaky in possession. He didn't quite know where he should be.
He looked like he needed a game, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think Connolly moving to centre back as well. I was gobsmacked when Hughes didn't get a start. I don't know what you guys thought, but what does this guy have to do to get a start? I mean, in the previous game against Birmingham, he changed his whole back line. He put Pye in the centre, didn't he, with Toure one side and Connolly at the other side, I think it was. So I don't know what's going on there, whether he's carrying something or Dave doesn't fancy him. Don't know what you think, Steve, about Hughes.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a game early on. I can't remember who we played, and I thought to myself then, I thought he was poor. But then it's funny because, like you've just said about Mingy then giving the ball away. Remember on Yango first few games, I was like, he's not a footballer. And then all of a sudden he's man of the match. And so it's a confidence thing, isn't it? And so it's difficult and we don't know, like we see footballers, obviously, we see 90 minutes on a Saturday or a Tuesday, Wednesday night, whenever it is. That's only part of their working week. We don't know what's going on, like say on the training ground. We don't know what type of characters they are. So there's a lot more that we don't see other than the 90 minutes on a Saturday. But I'm not sold on Hughes, to be honest. But then that's not to say that he can't come good. And likewise, Mingy, I thought his first few games when I saw him, he was particularly good. He had a bit of pace. He was getting forward. But yesterday, for half an hour, you'd be like, get him off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? When he was like subbed, it wasn't a kind of, oh no. But Noyle could be like a new signing because Noyle's class, got pace. I just love people with pace, me, especially in wide positions. Noyle's got it. Salvamales has got it. So I think that I wouldn't particularly be thinking Hughes deserved the game, but again, it's all opinions, isn't it?
I think Noyle reminds me of a budget Kyle Walker, maybe without the dubious personal life that Kyle Walker has, hopefully. But
maybe it's just not been reported yet.
But he's got pace. He's very athletic, isn't he? He never lets you down. He's always a 7 out of 10. And if he does make a mistake, you're right, Steve. He's got that pace to get back at his player, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think Mingy was injured. I read somewhere that he went down the tunnel, didn't he, with Luke Smith, the physio. So straight after he came off, don't think you'd do that. Or maybe you would do it if you've been taken off after 33 minutes to just pretend.
Professional pride probably comes into it, doesn't it? I noticed before just before he went off, he had a couple of pass exchanges with, might have been Collar, I think. It doesn't matter who he was with, but he just passed it straight back. It looked like somebody who didn't want the ball, either because of injury or because they just weren't playing very well. So wasn't surprised. Well, kind of surprised he got subbed, but when you see that connection, it was kind of less surprising. Who else stood out for you yesterday? Because that second half was as good as we've seen all season, I think, and probably for a while now. Dan, who else stood out for you?
You'd have to ask all of them. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about the second half, I think the big change obviously was Camps coming on, put Collar back into the Norwood position, should we say, alongside Bailey, and Camps then seemed to be the one that was a little bit further forward. But yeah, that was, I think, the biggest chance. I think chances created for the whole game, Camps had more chances created than any other player out of 90 minutes, and he only played 45. So I think that, for me, Camps was the standout. Everybody raised their game. You know, Mackers, obviously Gold, goal involvement. We can all print T-shirts off there now to say I saw Macca score a goal. But yeah, I don't know. It's night and day, first half to second half.
I thought it was really interesting that he took May off. He's probably resting him for the next game. But when he went off, our defence just stepped forward five yards. So we compressed the play a bit. We weren't as bothered about them getting in behind us. And as soon as we did that, we commanded the game. I mean, he went off on 66 minutes. And I think that probably coincided with the best period of the game for us. Spot on, though, Callum Camps. I mean, the guy has got to be very close to number one on the team sheet. He is just majestic.
I think with Camps, I think he's kind of stepped up as we've stepped up a level, because like I rated him last year League Two, but I know that there's a lot of people on the fence with him. But I think this year, when he's played, he's been our best player, probably along with Horsfall. Yeah. But what was interesting yesterday was the amount of balls we put in the box. I thought we just peppered every chance we got, every opportunity we got, we put a ball in the box. And a lot of them were like too high, too floaty. But I mean, the one that was put in for the goal was a great ball in. And then there was 2 or 3 within the next sort of 5-10 minutes that were right on the money, but they just defended them well. So I think there was a thing yesterday of like, just get balls in the box. And I don't know why we don't do that more often. Instead of like, once we get around the edge of the box, it's almost sometimes like we run out of ideas. Yeah. Let's get balls in there. Do you know what I mean? Wotton's going to win his fair share of headers. He might win us like the odd penalty or whatever, but we don't put enough balls in the box for me.
We put 40 crosses in that game.
Yeah. So that, I would guess that
one at 40.
40?
Yeah.
Right. What? So that's one every 2 minutes, basically. And that would probably be double the amount for any other game, I would have thought, this season. But I don't know why we don't do it, because even what we were doing well yesterday is even if they were clearing the first header, we were just keeping the ball in the zone so that, there was a couple where they'd cleared it, and rather than try and bring it down and play, we just lifted it back into the box. It's a dangerous area. Just get it in there and then let's feed off bits.
It is dangerous, but there has to be quality there. And hats off to Ryan Rydell. I mean, I've said it quite a few times on the Courtyard Club call that I don't think Southern Hales and Rydell can play in the same team together. And maybe I still think they can't for a full 90 minutes. But when Rydell came on, all it took was one really good cross. It was beautifully flighted, and Macca coming in from the other side, bang, just like Ronaldo, Portuguese Ronaldo, sort of leaping like a salmon, and bang, it went in. And that was the difference. I think, I hate to say this, but I think if Torre had stayed on, I don't think he's got that sort of delivery in him. And we've said before that, okay, he got 9 assists last season. How many of them would have been just knocking it to Louis Barry, who's then beaten 3 players and smacked it in the top corner? Just because you've passed to a player to then do all the work doesn't mean it's really an assist, a proper assist, even though on paper it is. So, yeah, I mean, having that sort of quality from that side, he's championship quality on his deliveries when he gets it right, and he's such a confidence player. And it's been said, hasn't it, that, well, Dave seems to think that Ryan Rydell's problem is not with his body, but it's the confidence now, getting back to playing first team games and believing that his body's not going to give up on him. And once he gets that, we'll have a player again, I think. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, time's cracking on, believe it or not. We've hardly done Birmingham, but we need to move on. Highlights of 2024 then. We'll go around the table and get these in the comments as well, even if you're watching afterwards or Spotify. Give us your comments. What's been your highlight of 2024? The reason why I say this is I got asked this and on the radio the other day, and it was in the programme. Charlie had his top 10 highlights or sort of key moments. So I think I can remember at least 1 or 2 of them. I know what his number 1 was anyway, so we can certainly read that out. Dan, what was your highlight of 2024?
I think I'm going to go what you said on the radio, Notts County away. I think that just had everything about supporting County in the last 10 years sort of wrapped up into sort of one game, one night. The connection between the team and the fans. Paddy getting an hat trick. So yeah, that for me, Notts County away was the. But saying that though, also last season, so we say 2024 has to be down as one of the best years of supporting County. Full stop, the whole year. For me, it is up there from '93 when obviously with QPR that season. But yeah, for me, it has to be one of my best years of supporting County. But yeah, the Notts County game is definitely that highlight.
Steve?
Yeah, it's a bit boring, isn't it? But it is Notts County. But I think for me was when we beat Sutton away, we on the coach on the way home. That was when I thought, like, we've won this league. That was, you know what I mean? Because that was a banana skin. They were second bottom, I think, at the time. And we went there and we just won comfortably. Madden got a hat-trick again that day, beat them 3-0. And that was the one. Coming home was just, it's ours now. But yeah, Notts County just stands out. Obviously, like Dan said there, everything about it was just brilliant, wasn't it? The following we had, just the scenes after the game and top day out.
Yeah. You going to concur with that, Jimmy, or are you going to give us another one?
Well, I'll just say Sydney Exile getting socks that match the rest of the kit finally for the pink kit. That's definitely a highlight. No, for me, I'm going slightly left field. So we're in the courtyard for the Brackley FA Cup game, and when we were heading to the stands, me, Russ, brother, daughter, Andy, a few other guys, we bumped into Mark Stott, and he gave us 15 minutes of his time just chatting county and plans for the future. And I just thought, I was buzzing. So was Russ. We were messaging each other saying, I can't believe that just happened. The owner of the club giving us that much time, just chatting away. So that was my highlight of 2024. Personally.
Nice. I'm going to go a bit different because I said Notts County on the radio, and that was Charlie's, by the way. Challinger's was Notts County away. I'm going to go a bit different. I'm going to go Blackpool away, purely for the reason that we were back in League One. We took a load of fans to Blackpool away in what was effectively a summer game, and we spanked them 3-0. And when Barry scored that goal, and it was limbs, it just felt like we are back. We're back in League One. We're back at this sort of level. And it just felt great. Top day out, and obviously Jimmy and the lads walked there as well. So met them before the match, and we stayed out for a few beers afterwards and all that sort of stuff. So it was just a belting day. Yeah, definitely felt we were back for that. Expectations in 2025 then. Again, get yours into the comments. What are you expecting in 2025? This is the whole year. So obviously this season and into next season, we'll go around the same order. Dan, what are you thinking? What are you expecting?
Another good pre-season tour, rather Pinatar again, or maybe Portugal.
We missed that one out. Yeah, the Pinatar. Yeah.
Pinatar. So yeah, another summer pre-season tour for me is definitely on my hit list. But yeah, just being competitive. Taking decent number of fans to games, enjoying the day out, and just being competitive, knowing that we under Challoner, we have a chance of getting something out of games. So yeah, just loving the ride.
Yeah, nice one, Steve.
Yeah, I think this season, we might even make the playoffs. We certainly won't finish any lower than sort of 9th. So I think we'll just be in that little bracket somewhere between 5th and 8th. If we make the playoffs, good. If we don't, then so what? Because we just, you know what I mean, with first season in the league. I'd like to see us sign somebody this January, and I'd like to see a couple of signings sort of pre-season next year that will help us to go to that next step. And I think that's what will happen. I think that's what's happened in every transfer window that we've had. And I feel like next year will be a push towards promotion again.
Yeah, because the next season will be season 2 out of the 3, won't it? For getting up to the championship. Yeah. So we'll be probably ahead of schedule there as well.
Yeah. I think a lot will depend on sort of what happens this month, because there's been rumours about Bate going. I'm sure everybody's heard the same rumour. Whether that's true or not, certainly by the end of the season, heads will be turned, and money will be on the table. And that's kind of where we're at now, in terms of like the start of the season. Mark Stock was saying in his interview, this is the sort of the turning point in terms of us shelling out money. And now we've got to recuperate some of it, but by buying the right players. So it'd be interesting to see what comes this month, really.
Yeah, no, it will. Jimmy, expectations of 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with what Steve says. I mean, I love the human aspect of supporting county. So the fact that players can come and go, but there's always a hero there for you. And I think where we are with the club is that in 2025, we're going to see some really exciting players come in with the recruitment that Simon Wilson will be doing, with the idea that Mark Stock wants to get us into the Championship. We can all see that this team is not there in terms of personnel. So if he wants to get us into the Championship, he's going to have to get some better players in. I'm not talking loads, but 2 or 3 smattered through the side. And I just can't wait to see what those players are going to look like, where they're going to come from, whether they're going to be Premier League Academy players or something a bit better. Or I don't think we're going to be shopping in League 2 anymore. I've just got a feeling that we're going to be sort of going down this route of getting players from Premier League academies, doing something similar to Bate. I know that he's played in League 2 on loan, but he is going to be the absolute poster boy of what Mark Stock wants to do. And if he does move on after 6 months, I don't think he will do. I think we've got him for a year. But if he does move on after 6 months, and if we can recoup 1.5-2 million quid on him or something like that from a free transfer, that is a massive tick in the recruitment of what we've done. It shows other players, look, if you come to us, okay, you may have been released by Chelsea, you may have been released by Leeds effectively, but if you come to us, we will be a stepping stone for you. That's only going to be of benefit to the whole club and the players that we attract. So that's my major thing. Then a tiny thing is just seeing the ground redevelopment and how that's going to sort of start looking in 2025. I know it's only the first phase, probably the most rubbish phase, but it's still the first thing that we've done in 25 years with the ground. So I can't wait to see the bulldozers come in or whatever it is and the cranes go up, and that's going to be super exciting.
I do think as well, in terms of the transfer policy, I think obviously gone are the days where people are just going to come and take our players for next to nothing, because we've got sound businessmen in charge of the club. And I think what we'll find a lot more is that even when we sell people, we'll have a buy-on clause inserted into the contract. So we'll still have a vested interest in that player and hoping that they go on to do better things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a lot more savvy team behind us, haven't we? Yeah, we've got a lot.
We're never going to be in that position.
I think there's a bit of a lag on yours, Dan.
Oh, is there? Sorry.
Yeah. So I think you're right. So we're going to have a better savvy. So we've got a savvier team behind us, haven't we? That will add all these different clauses and sort of installment plans and all that kind of stuff, and not have to sell them dead for cheap like we did with Ashley Williams' sell-on clause. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It was something stupid, wasn't it? And it was embarrassing at the time. I remember that much. But yeah, I'm totally up for that.
We lost millions, didn't we? We lost millions, didn't we, from that selling that Ashley Williams sell-on clause on. When he actually got moved on further down the line, we actually ended up with a lot of money out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was all speculative anyway. Once whether it'd have gone or not, I don't know. But it's we had to sell it in the end, just because we were desperate, and we're not desperate anymore. And you can almost say as well, Steve, couldn't you, that say if someone does come in for Bate for $1 million, say, and I'm just speculating now. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's worth $1 million or what, but we could say, well, we don't actually need that, so give us 1.5, or you're not having him. We hold the bargaining chips now, don't we, with the way it's all structured?
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a nice position to be in, and it's like I said, I don't think in any of our lifetimes we've been in this position with County where you go, well, if a player does go, it's because it's right for the club. Whereas in the past, it's just been a case of sometimes the player's gone, well, they're not going anywhere. It's the whole thing around the club that there's a feel-good factor in terms of, like, even when you look at the training facility, when you see it, you know what I mean? You can see why we attract players.
Yeah,
but it also
absolutely.
doesn't serve any purpose to hold on to players if they genuinely want to leave. If a Sunderland comes in for someone, yeah, that player is probably going to want to go. He's going to double, triple, quadruple his wages, play in front of 40,000 each week. We're not going to stop them, but I think we've got quite good, or we will have good bargaining positions, longer contracts potentially. And we can say, okay, yeah, you can buy him, but you're going to pay us market value for him. And players understand that. We're not going to sell them for tuppence, are we, in a curly whirly? But we'll certainly get decent money for these. So, and that's exactly what you were saying before. Before we maybe didn't have that nous, that acumen, that sort of hard-nosed business savviness. Well, I think we've got that now.
Yeah. But and players will want to move on. Obviously, they'll want to better themselves, but it doesn't seem like they're in an environment where they're looking to move on, which is another, you know what I mean? It's a massive bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So nice little segue there before we get on to getting reses around player values, amortization, perhaps that kind of thing, player contracts. We've got a special opposition preview for the Crystal Palace match that'll be landing in your inboxes on Tuesday. I had the pleasure of speaking with Kevin Day today. For those that don't know Kevin Day, he's a comedian. He's a writer, writes for Nevermind the Buzzcocks. Have I Got News for You? Loads of other stuff. And he presents the Price of Football podcast as well. And that was an hour and 10 minutes properly well spent, and that'll be coming to everybody, not just Patreon members. That's a full opposition preview with Kevin Day dropping in on Tuesday. And don't forget, for the Patreon members and for none really, there's still the Fraser Horsfall, Will Collar interviews, Kenny Boxall, they're all there. If you want the full episodes, head over to our Patreon page and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that does subscribe. We've ticked over 100 now. 100 paid subscribers, which is just brilliant. So cheers everybody for that. Okay, should we finish off with getting reses? I'm sure I've got one. I know Jimmy has. Mine's quite generic. Dan and Steve, we'll come to you. If you've not got any, it don't matter, but we'll just have a bit of a moan, basically.
Getting the reses.
Come on, getting reses.
Getting reses.
Getting reses.
That's rubbish. Getting reses.
I'm not having that. Getting reses.
So, Jimmy, come straight to you because you said you had one. It's probably going to be mine as well, but go on.
So I want to put in the reses the person back in the 1800s that designed football to be played in the winter. Okay. You get really cold. Really, really cold. You can't wear your club colours, can you? Because you're all wearing coats and scarves and all that sort of stuff. You can't wear your beautiful T-shirt or your replica kit top that you bought. And me, I've got to wear 3 coats. So to even remotely keep myself warm, if you see me, I'm wearing ski gloves now. It's that sort of weather. Hat to keep my ball patch nice and warm. So yeah, that can proper get in reses. Why can't we play like they do in Scandinavia, March to October, have a World Cup somewhere nice and hot? Yeah, they can knob off somewhere warm and Southern Hemisphere or something, have a World Cup there. Players can have like a break in hot countries like Caribbean and all that sort of stuff. It would just be so much more civilized. So I'm saying that we should move football, okay, into the summer. How about that?
Oh, we need to take a vote on this because I'm going to say no because I like it in the winter. I like getting wrapped up and having a bovril and all that kind of stuff. I don't like having a pint in the winter, which I have to force that down. But yeah, Dan, Steve, what about you two? Are you putting that in the reses or not?
No, because you wouldn't have the games under the floodlights as well, and it'd be too hot. You'll have too many water breaks every 2 minutes. So no, it's a winter game.
This country, Dan, we're talking about. It's not going to be too hot in summer. It's going to be raining in August. Let's face it. I mean,
I'm going to have to say no. I'm going to have to say no as well, just for the simple fact of what else is there to look forward to between November and February other than Christmas Day? It's dark all the time. It's cold.
You can all get in reses then. That's
oh, sorry, Jim. It's depressing enough that time of year, and football's what gets you through it.
Yeah. No, I sort of get that, but we'd have to invent another sport or something, like an indoor sport. How about that for
Five-a-side?
For the winter? Yeah. We could, okay, football clubs in the winter, they have to have like a scratch team of 5-a-side players, and we can all go and watch that instead. They can build these mini little stadiums that we can sort of watch instead.
I get why you're saying it, but I don't think, for all the reasons we've just previously said.
To be fair, nobody is agreeing with me in the live chat as well. So maybe I just need to get more hugs from people. So if you see me, give me a little hug, warm me up.
Yeah.
Okay?
And Jimmy, that would also mean that the pre-season tour would be in the winter, and Pinatar in the winter. I can't see it being as good as Pinatar in the summer.
Caribbean or something. They can put subsidized like trips for us. They can. Mark Stock can like get a couple of planes or something, and he can like charge us 20 quid for a seat to Barbados or Trinidad or something.
A county cruise.
Yeah, county cruise, lovely.
So I think we're not putting it in the reses, but there are some comments. The Signy Exile says you'd have to be walking for drinks every 5 minutes. Phil Lloyd, for once, I'm not putting it in the reses, but Jimmy, Stu, who we know and we love, says, of all your clothing, you wear it all well anyway, Jimmy. So that's a positive for you. So you keep on. It's a good time to be fashionable, isn't it? And get your winter wardrobe out for the match.
Yeah.
I'll go next because I'm assuming, well, Steve and Dan, I don't know, but I'll go next. I'm going to go with a very generic one. Referees that make it all about them. And we've seen this now. Huddersfield, to a degree, I think. Rotherham, definitely. And Birmingham, definitely. It was just, Rotherham especially, was just ridiculous. I have never seen a more inept performance by a set of officials. And I don't care what anybody says. That goal was offside. And you might say, Wotton's leg was on, he was playing him onside. Yeah, but there was about 3 and one was interfering with play. And if you're on the pitch, you're interfering with play. They just got it wrong. Fucking idiots, basically. And it was all about them. And then Tanto gets taken out by the goalkeeper. That's not a foul. I'm sorry, but it was, and it was just stupid. So that's my getting the reses. Anybody want to agree or disagree with that?
And to add, they were championship referees as well.
Were they?
Yeah. Yep. That was their first game out of the championship they refereed this season.
What, the team in the Rotherham game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
I thought the Birmingham referee was okay, to be fair. I mean, it was all about him, but I thought he let the game flow pretty well, to be fair.
I mean, so referees at our level, are they still part-time or are they full-time now? Because I know the ones in the Premier League are full-time.
It's a good
but
question.
When you look at now, when you think like some of the players in our league now, they're earning upwards of 10 grand a week and they're being officiated by a part-time fella. And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. I mean, we spoke a lot on this podcast about refereeing and grassroots refereeing and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we need to go over that again, but it's just, maybe it's hurting more now because I've seen it on, in a too much in a close space of time. We might get 3 refs now for the next 3 games that are okay and that kind of stuff. But
I think Challen has summed it up right, didn't he, the other day, that it's the inconsistency of how they referee a game, how they interpret the law is so drastic from one game to the next. And how do you prepare for a game when you don't know how they're going to referee it, what they concede as a foul, how they're going to add the time on at the end of the game, everything. And it's like I say, I think Challen has summed it up really, really well. It's just that inconsistency that really just grates on people.
Yeah.
I think Gazenda makes a good point, and this is something that does really annoy me. Liners serve zero purpose nowadays, so they can get in reses. And he's right. I mean, like a foul can occur or a non-foul can occur within 2 meters of the liner. Referee's 25 yards away with 6 players in between him and the play, and he'll give a free kick and the linesman doesn't, or the other way around. Yeah. And I just don't see the point in having a linesman if he's not going to make decisions that are like right under his nose.
I still think that one of the best referees we've had was when we non-league, and I think it was against Torquay or Yeovil.
Rebecca Welch was the best.
The lady referee that we had in non-league, and I know she then got moved up through the leagues very quickly. I don't know where she is now refereeing, but I thought
she's retired.
Retired.
She's retired. Yeah, I think she's taken up some role with the PGMSOL or whatever they're called. But she's definitely retired. But she was brilliant. I mean, I was really impressed with her. Yeah,
I didn't. Well, good knowledge. Good knowledge. Yeah, good stuff. Right, Dan and Steve. Then have you got to get in reses?
Not for me, I'm afraid.
No, I haven't got one. But another good thing that the club have done, as like an opposite of a getting the reses, would be to give away fans the railway end. Absolutely, I've watched a few of the vlogs from yesterday, and every single one of them was piss wet through, freezing, moaning, and I love that. I absolutely love that. Let them have that all day long and give us the roof all the way around the ground.
And they run out of hot food by half time as well. So
yeah, we don't even give them any. Don't even offer them any hot food. Do you know what I mean? I'm all for like S-housery and as much of it as we can do, and like let's make it as horrible as we can for them.
Put that old toilet paper you used to get at schools, like tracing paper in the toilet.
Tracing paper.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So they're really rough when they wipe their asses on it, and
anything like that, yeah.
Surely,
you've got to give them at least 250 covered seats, haven't you? I think it's some sort of regulation.
Yeah, but they didn't get it yesterday, did they? So I don't know how we've got around that. But however we've got around it, let's just use that going forward and just do the same.
Because
I always
thought section in the pop side as well.
No, they didn't have any. I thought the same because I was always I was told that they had to have 200 covered seats, but they haven't. They didn't have it, and Mansfield haven't got it. Okay. So I don't know whether the club have contacted Birmingham and Mansfield and said you can have 800 there or you can have 1,200 there. That's on you. I don't know, but
yeah. If anybody knows, do put it in the comments. That's a good one, though. I mean, two things there. What do we call the little segment of positive stuff that cannot get in the reses? Can't call it get out the reses, can we? Because it hasn't been in the first place. So we need a name for that. And then the other thing is, has anybody ever been for a shit at a football match? I know I've not in my 35 years of going to football matches.
No,
I can't do that. I can't do a shit.
Wouldn't even know what the toilet paper looks like in a football ground.
I'd just be keeping it in. I'd just be sucking it back in.
I love it. On that note, then, I mean, good place to wrap up. Cheers to Steve, Dan, and Jimmy for tonight's episode. Do like and review and all those good things. And check out all of our other podcasts. There's more coming soon. We've got more special guests lined up as well. Trying to herd cats is probably the best way I can phrase that. But we do try and get them over the line eventually. So please do look out for those. And I think that's about it. So cheers everybody for watching and listening. And we'll see you at the match on Saturday, Mansfield at home.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, lads.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Scarf Bagara War. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember, you can catch us every week on your favourite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members. Your contributions help keep the show running to bring the content you love. If you'd like to support the podcast and get access to exclusive special guest episodes, ad-free podcasts, and a monthly giveaway, head over to patreon.com/the Scarf Bagara War. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more. You can find us on X, Facebook, and Instagram, all at County Podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and share it with your fellow County fans. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Scarf Bagara War. Come on, County!